Good day, everyone. My name is Abdullahi Ibrahim, Senior Coordinator, Monitoring Evaluation Research and Learning at Leap Africa. I want to begin with a provocative question. Are evaluations truly shaping the way we design and deliver programs, or are they simply rubber stamping decisions that, have already been made? So this isn't just a technical debate, it goes to the heart of how we in Africa and globally understand evidence, how we use it, and how we hold ourselves accountable to the communities that we serve. Over the next 15 minutes, I'll share insights from my work and from a wider practice, highlighting why evaluations often fail to live up to their promise, what happens when they do, and what we can do together to transform evaluations into genuine engines of learning and change. So let's dive in. Um, as we are all aware, evaluations promise clarity. They should tell us how, what works, what doesn't, and why, under what circumstance. They should help us, refine our strategies to improve our results. But here lies the paradox. Are evaluations really shaping these efforts? Instead, you find programs shaping evaluations, limiting its scope, narrowing its questions, and predetermining its use. And the result is, evaluations risking becoming symbolic exercises rather than tools for real and actual improvement. So when you think about it, and there's this caption on the screen, um, you have conversations where people tell you, oh, this evaluation, we're really waiting for the insight. It's gonna tell us how we're gonna do everything. And then you ask the question, did we utilize the previous findings from the previous evaluation exercises? So that's a rhetoric. So in theory, if you think of the feedback loop, evaluations complete a certain feedback loop, gathering lessons, feeding them back into design, and improving practice. But when you think about the actuals, the loop is broken. The World Bank, for example, states that while 80% of development programs include evaluations, only fewer than half of them actually use it to adjust and work on policies. So that means that valuable knowledge being generated is not really acted upon. And imagine all of that waste, all of that evidence left on the shelf, left on the cloud, left on our drives. What next? Um, so why is this happening? One big reason is translation. Evaluation reports are often data rich, and of course, one's both also complex, lengthy, and some say difficult to apply. Program staff under pressure to deliver rarely have time to wade through them. And organizational inertia leads to resistance to change, limited capacity, pressure for quick wins, and evaluation insights simply evaporate. So the tragedy is that what could have been transformational now ends up as a compliance mechanism. It's really just paperwork when you think about it. And in this case, you find that this is really applicable in a lot of instances in the programming that we lead across the continent and across the world. Another factor is what I call the tyranny of outputs. In many interventions, the demand for rapid, visible results overshadows the pursuit of long-term outcomes. So evaluations become some sort of a box ticking exercise. Did we distribute enough toolkits? Did we train enough people? But the deeper insights, such as did lives actually improve? Are communities stronger? These kind of insights, they get lost. So this selective use of data amplifies successes and hides failures, creating a distorted picture of effectiveness. Because let's face it, in the real world, there are successes and there are failures. So why not treat it as though it's also a data bank on successes and lessons to improve? Now, deeper still, many evaluations are sort of driven by donor requirements rather than program needs. And when that happens, findings often don't match the questions that implementers are asking. They are either too broad to guide practice or too narrow to matter at all. And without strong feedback culture, even relevant findings rarely reach the teams who could actually act on them, right? And the end result is that evaluations satisfy funders, but actually truly fail beneficiaries. Because, when you think about the young boy in Kano or the young girl in Makoko, all within Nigeria, when the program is actually truly completed and we've learned from the intervention that has been delivered to them, what are the lessons we can draw from that to improve in skill or to improve and learn for other interventions? And that is where we truly should be. So think about it, are you really only fostering a culture of compliance? The box ticking exercise of having M&E as part of your work, as part of, a proposal document or as part of your budget? Or are you truly using evidence to transform the interventions and lead to meaningful change at outcome and impact levels? Even with all of this, and this is crucial, when evaluations are truly done the right way, they can be powerful. They can be truly powerful, and I have some cases here. So take, for example, the International Rescue Committee. And after rigorous evaluations of its economic recovery programs in post-conflict settings, the IRC restructured its approach. And this restructuring became evident in the way they did everything from working with stakeholders to working with donors, and even the way they interact with communities. There's also the TUSOM National Literacy Program from Kenya, which truly pilot evaluations demonstrated that large foundational literacy gains were actually there. But with a caveat, when there's structured lessons, coachings, and simple TLMs. And Kenya now redesigned and scaled nationally what the TUSOM really is, an embedded data use, coaching, and standardized materials. So when you think about it, even when when you think of foundations like the Mastercard Foundation, when you think of donor approaches, let's take the likes of Mastercard Foundation on the Young Africa Work strategy. The strategy focuses on working with partners. These partners can be companies, entities, communities, groups, non-profits, and the likes. And they leverage the evaluations and the studies that they conduct at their levels to learn at the strategic level of the Young Africa Works and advance with the efforts. So these are all sample example of how you can see where real and meaningful change is happening through evaluations. Now, think about it. How do we ensure evaluations inform programming, and really not the other way around? First is by embracing developmental evaluation. And unlike traditional approaches, developmental evaluation builds feedback into the program from start, right? It adapts in real time, and it ensures making learning continuous rather than episodic, like we say, oh, it happens at a certain time. Second is by investing in capacity, right? Program staff must be equipped not just with data, but the skills to interpret it, question it, and apply it. Lastly, I would say by creating organizational cultures that reward reflection, adaptation, and honesty, not just outputs, not just box ticking exercises, right? So what are the shifts that we truly need? Firstly, we need stronger feedback loops within organizations and within our interventions and programming efforts. Capacity building is also another very strong place to engage staff and engage with evidence. And when you think about it, another very important alignment, having better alignment between evaluations and program realities. And then you also need donor flexibility so that programs can adapt to what evidence reveals, not just that we say A has happened and B has to happen. So if we commit to these, we can turn evaluations from compliance exercises into engines of continuous improvement. Right. And Think about how you apply this in your day-to-day activities, with your teams, with your funders and your stakeholders, in your organizations, your communities, and the communities and beneficiaries and participants that you truly serve. Now, let me close with this thought. The debate is not really about whether evaluations inform programming or programming shapes evaluations. The truth is both should happen, and they happen. But the bigger picture is, do we have the courage to let evidence challenge us? To admit when things aren't working, to adapt, even when it's inconvenient. If we do, evaluations can truly move from being mirrors of the past to maps for the future. And as Michael Quinn Patton reminds us, evaluation is an activity, but evaluative thinking is a way of doing real business. And that is the challenge before us, to make evaluative thinking part of how we lead, design, and deliver change in Africa and beyond. Thank you so much, everyone. LEAP Africa is a youth leadership development organization, Pan-African, has been here for 23 years. We have a MERL advisory, and through that front, we ensure that we contribute to ecosystem building, thought leadership, and advocacy. Also to strengthen the body of knowledge that is out there. So you can look us up, leapafrica.org or leapafrica.org/MERL, and let's connect. Thank you.